I promised in my February setup video that I would not do a floral theme for March, and I have stuck to my promise. Instead, we're going with a soft beige and blue light academia theme, and I really tried to push myself on the weeklies in this traveler's size because that's still something I'm experimenting with until I find the right fits for me. Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm really curious, do you have a favourite style of journal theme? I don't think I have a favourite, but florals are definitely my fallback. This entire theme for March was actually inspired by a single piece of paper. I had to go shopping my stash to find some inspiration, and this one from Monogatari Crafts caught my eye, and I thought I can build a whole theme around this colour scheme, and also these items, this kind of vintage letter writing kind of idea. I haven't used paper in my journals for a while. I've really been favouring stickers and washi tape for how much thinner they are. This is actually a pretty thick piece of cardstock, so I had some trouble cutting it down to size at first. Especially since I'm working in a traveler's notebook size, it is about the same height as A5 but much narrower, so I had to get a little bit creative because I did want to keep most of this piece of artwork. I've had this as part of my collection since I tested out the Monogatari Crafts subscription boxes back at the end of 2024, so it's about time it got its moment. And it's been a while since I did something with a decorative Dutch door just because, so I thought I'd go ahead and cut the edge here along where the envelopes and pen end. Ordinarily, I would do this after attaching it to the page, but I wasn't completely sure how I was going to do it yet, so I thought it would be best to cut this first, get an idea of how much page I would lose, and then commit. I also worked out which part of the page would be crossing the binding of the notebook, and I'm cutting it there too, so that when I fold the book closed, it's not going to have any trouble with bending this, it's just going to close the way I want it to. Now, when I said this wasn't a floral theme, it does still have this ever so slight floral motif in a couple of the washi tapes I'm using. They're both from Lila Journals, and they're both the Lily of the Valley washi tapes. They're just a thinner and a thicker version, and they're both still available, although they're low in stock, so if you like the look of them, don't say I didn't warn you. And I'm layering that right at the edge of the page with this lovely soft dusty blue that is from Handwritten Arts. In case you like the look of anything you see me using in this video, I will link to as much of it as I can down in the description. Now that I know exactly how much page I have left over, I can go ahead and cut the paper away from the actual page, following the line of the cut that I made earlier on the design. I want this to look like I cut them both at once, so I'm trying to follow that line as closely as I can. It makes it a lot easier to do this sort of thing if you'll cut in a few different separate sections, and you can rotate your book to make it easier too. I have this sheet of hand-lettered looking paper from Paper Monogatari that I thought would be really pretty here, but I've actually decided to stick with the same pattern I did on the left side of the left page, just repeat that over here. So the Lila Journals tape once again, and another strip of the light blue tape from Handwritten Arts, and then we'll have something a little bit more symmetrical. I felt like if I stuck with the letter paper that is kind of a beige colour, we'd have a bit too much browny beige going on across the spread overall, and I wanted to make sure I was pulling out the blue from that paper. There are a couple of little envelopes and things that have that blue tinge going on, so this way that's still represented. And I think it looks really cute. Since we have this vintage letter writing theme going on, I thought it would be a nice touch to have a very vintage looking hand-lettered script to go with it, almost like this March heading was written a really long time ago. So I grabbed out my dip handle and I'm using the Gillotte's 404 nib on this beige, slightly pearlescent paper. It's actually an envelope that I've broken down and folded out. But I've never tried writing with a dip pen on it before, so I needed to give it a bit of a test run, and it seems like it's going okay. The ink I'm using is the navy from the calligraphy shop, which is the place that's associated with the calligraphy box, which is a subscription that I was trying out for a little while. I also used it in my first setup in this journal in case it looks familiar, and their inks are really interesting. They're basically the texture of a kind of thin paint, if that makes sense. So you have to stir them up. It's almost like a gouache paint or something like that, but it's not, it's calligraphy ink. It's very interesting. After a few attempts, I knew I had to get in there with pencil first, so I have written out my march beforehand in pencil and I'm going over it. And once this is down, I'm going to let it dry really, really well before I go in and erase my pencil marks, because I've learned my mistakes from previous times when I got in there too quickly with an eraser and smudged everything, and I don't want to do that. Now that my ink is completely dry, I'll go ahead and cut out this March lettering, almost to turn it into something of a sticker. It's just on paper, I'm just going to glue it in, but I'm going to follow the edges of the lettering so that it looks really purposefully cut out, because I'm going to layer this right over the top of that pretty envelope design paper that we've already got down on the page. Deciding on the placement for this one was the trickiest part, I think, because I wanted it to be very obviously still a feature of the page. I put quite a lot of effort into trying to make this lettering really pretty, and I decided on here in the center of the right page in the end. I didn't want to cover too much of the envelope detail. I just wanted this to sit there and gently state which month we were about to go into. Sometimes it's quite difficult to erase pencil lines from underneath your ink like this, but this one went really well. I'm very happy with how easily they just lifted up. That's the cover page complete, so let's turn the page and start on the next one. And this is going to be a calendar spread. Usually I prefer a gridded calendar, but because I'd removed so much of the left side of the left page there, I thought let's go with a traditional bullet journal kind of style instead and do this linear calendar. So instead of a box where I do my planning for each day of the month, I'm just going to have a row on the page instead. This is actually leaving me with a lot more planning space than I would have been able to wring out of this spread if I was going with the traditional gridded kind of calendar boxes, so that's exciting. And I almost have 2 columns, so I could do things to do with work on one side and things to do with life on the other if I wanted to, or something similar. I really like how this turned out. My fine liner of choice for this one is the Tom Studio Lumos Duo, and I've got, I believe it is the 03 fine liner tip in it at the moment. I'm using that to add the numbers for each day of the month, as well as the initial for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday right next to those, so I know what I'm planning for in which space. When we were setting up the cover spread, we already decorated this page a little bit, so I don't need to do too much more to it, but I thought this washi tape was a perfect fit because of the soft beige, and it also has some blue tones in it. Also, books are perfect for any kind of academia vibe, so I think that works really well too. This one is from the new Tiny Bookshop collection from Paper Monogatari. I can't remember what this specific tape is called, and you can't get it right now because Anna's store is closed while she's on maternity leave, but I'm sure they will make a return when she's back after the birth of baby Monogatari, so never fear, if you like the look of this one, you'll be able to get it, just not yet. I'm using them to fill out the space on the left side where we have that kind of awkward edge. Dutch door pages always look so good from the initial side where all the intention was, but it can be really tricky to make the reverse side look intentional too, so this is how I'm trying to do it. I'm turning this into a big bookshelf wall. So just stacking these washi tapes right on top of each other, or underneath each other actually, I'm working from the top down. And then once they're all situated and I have a nice clean edge along the edge of my calendar there, I'll jump back in with my scissors and trim along the edge of the page so it looks like this was how it was supposed to be all along. You know when people build ingenious bookshelves into stairs alcoves or under a pitched roof? That's kind of the effect I was going for here. It's looking good, but I feel like it needs a little bit of something extra, so I'm grabbing out a PET tape to add some extra little elements in. This one is also from Paper Monogatari. It's from their Dark Academia collection a little while ago, and some of its elements are definitely too dark academia for this theme, so I won't be able to use all of them, but there are a few scattered throughout that will help me out. We're on to our next spread now. This one is actually a consolidated version of 2 full spreads that I've been doing up until now in my journal. I noticed I was giving them way too much space, so I've shrunk them down to just a page each this time. They're pretty loosey-goosey with the way that you can set them up because they just involve some kind of general list writing, nothing too intensive. I don't need a very structured page for this, so I jumped in with some decorative washi tape first before adding anything too functional, and I'm going to try to use this ink and my dip pen again to add my lettering directly to the page surface, but I forgot that doesn't go super well on this paper, unfortunately. This is a notebook therapy journal, and it's not terrible, but every now and then I get a big blotch, and I don't love that. Like that one just there in between the A and the R in Learn, not so good. Not the end of the world, but not my favorite thing either. Anyway, this right page is my What I Learned page, as you can see from the title. Anything that I learn about in the month of March, I'll just jot down a couple of notes about it here. It's nice to look back and see that you are indeed actively learning, even when you are approaching 40 like I am. But I'm ditching the dip pen and ink for the rest of my lettering for this setup. I conveniently already had a really nice matching ink in this pen. This one is a maker pen that I got at the Melbourne Pen Show last year. It's from Pete's Bespoke Pens, and I have it inked with Ink Industries Blueberry Milkshake, which I believe was a Pen Show exclusive, maybe, with dino rights. I actually chose it to match my February theme as just a writing colour for the month of February, but it's so perfect for this, and I still have a little bit left inside it, so I'll probably just keep using it into March as well. I'm adding second line highlights for the different sections to really differentiate them. The light blue is the Tombow 491, my absolute favourite light icy blue, and the beige is the 990. I've also busted out a second PET tape for some extra little elements here. This one is also from Cora Career Crafts from the same subscription box as the artwork on that first cover spread, which is quite handy. It's obviously already kind of academia writing themed. A few of the elements aren't quite the right colours for this setup, but the little blue envelope is my absolute favourite, and it has some other things that work really nicely too, so I'll just pick and choose. I actually almost decluttered this tape recently, and I decided against it, and I'm so glad I kept it because obviously it's coming in very handy now. I grabbed my white paint marker to try and cover up that little blob in Learned. It went okay, you can kind of still see the blue through it, but I'm happy with this spread, so let's turn the page and move on to the next one. This is going to be my content planner. Making videos for this very YouTube channel is in fact my job, so having something like this is very helpful to me. I understand that may not be the case for everyone, but I do think this is a pretty adaptable layout for anything that has a set workflow that you need to do over and over again. Even if it's not within a single month, it can be something that works for a whole year or 6 months or a quarter, however you like to do your planning. My journals have always been slightly unrelatable to people who have regular jobs because I've been self-employed for a really long time now. But that's actually part of why I keep my mystery journal series going, because that is a journal that has to be able to be used by anyone. It's a journal that I set up for a mystery person. I do a full 6 months in a notebook and then I give it away. And it has to be able to be used by anyone because I don't know who's going to win it. So if you're ever watching one of my own journal setup videos and you're thinking, Erin, this is so not useful to me, maybe check out the mystery journal videos because they're designed to be useful for anyone. But just in case, I'll tell you about how my content planner works. So I'm adding decoration in the column kind of decorative system that I sometimes use on the left and right sides of the page. I would jump in with the functional parts first, but I've already penciled them out, so I knew where they were going to go. And I'm drawing out a grid or a table in between. This is going to be my workflow for all of the videos that I want to release on YouTube in March. I typically try to publish videos on Tuesday evenings and Friday evenings, my time, Australian Queensland time, but I'm also trying to be really nice to myself this year, so sometimes a video won't get out exactly on schedule, but it'll be the next day or something like that. And also, I haven't published a video in a couple of weeks now because my cat broke my computer, which is very kind of him. Thank you, Mitsu. He closed the lid of my laptop while I had a hard drive sitting on the keyboard kind of section, and it cracked the screen. And it took a week and a half to replace, and it was very expensive. My insurance is covering it, so that's nice. Obviously, it has been repaired and is back in my possession because you wouldn't be seeing this video otherwise. It has given me a new appreciation for the technology that I use because being without it for a week and a half was actually really rough. The items I'm writing down in this far left column here are the workflow for making my videos, every little step kind of broken down, and each of the columns next to that are for videos going up on a Tuesday or a Friday, assuming I get everything done. So there should be just enough room there for the number of videos that I need to make in March to fill all of those slots. And as I work through the process of making those videos, I can cross off all of my workflow tasks and see where I'm up to and what still needs to be done. Any kind of creative planner or bullet journal layout can really be adapted to a number of uses, so I'd encourage you to have a think about how you might adapt a layout like this to fit something in your own life, whether that's school assignments or work projects or personal projects that you're working on. I feel like it could be adapted to a lot of situations. We're going to move on now to the first of my weeklies. Consolidating those two previous spreads into a single spread has meant that we have a few less pages to set up this time, so that's actually really handy, and we can go straight into weeklies. One of the weeklies I set up for February was one of my old favorite kind of standard layouts where on the left side I had this horizontal planning space for each of the days of the week, and on the right side I had a general open space for tasks, or a to-do list, however you prefer to refer to it. And it was great, and I loved using it for that week. So for this month, I'm going to repeat that layout for all of my setups, but I want to vary that left page a little bit every time. I don't always love a horizontal setup for my weeklies, so I want to see if I can play with it and come up with some variations. This first one though is just the absolute basic one, so you can see where I'm starting from. And because I don't have a huge amount of space here, I thought it would be fun to use some stickers. These two are from sheets from Sterling Ink that I've had for almost, actually maybe even longer than the Core Creative Craft stuff, definitely over a year. On the level of subscription I was on when I tested these out, you got these sticker sheets with every subscription box, so I have a few. They would be slightly differently themed to fit whatever the theme of the box was. These ones kind of work. There's a bit of blue, there's a bit of brown going on, so I thought they'd do the trick. And I only need to fill out 4 weeklies for the month of March, so I will be able to do that very easily with these stickers across all of them. Another great thing about using functional stickers for weekly spreads and this kind of thing is if you already have some decoration down on the page, you can layer it over the top of some of that and not have to eat into your planning space as much as you would if you had to write directly on the page. So that's a win. For the numbers for each of my days of the week, I'm going to use these stickers also from Sterling Ink. There's a little bit of a font mismatch going on here. These are kind of a very clean sans serif, whereas the days of the week have this lovely flowy script font thing going on, but I actually don't mind it. And something I love about using number stickers for my weeklies is that as long as you get the first one right, you can't misnumber your weeklies. It just, because you've already used those stickers, it can't be done. That's our first weekly setup, so let's move on to the next one. I'm trying out a vertical setup, kind of like having little boxes for each of the days of the week this time, and I'm going to alternate my second line highlights again, so we have blue and then brown. I'm actually going to do one too many with my brown boxes though, but that's okay because we'll fix it later. If you divided this page equally, you'd actually have space for 9 little boxes of planning space, but obviously with only 7 days in a week, we don't need that much. So I deliberately left the first one empty and I added some washi tape in there, but I'm also covering the last one up because that was a little mistake. And I do very much love when there's a little bit of extra room for adding decoration, sprinkling some pretty things around, so I'm definitely taking advantage of that here. I've also deliberately left a little bit of space in between my rows of planning space, so I have room to add the heading sticker for each of my days of the week. Remember how I told you my cat closed the lid of my laptop, causing the screen to crack? He's about to come and visit us very kindly to I don't know that I'd say apologize, but to demand some more dinner, definitely. He's a very food-driven cat. Since my heading stickers for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. kind of only just fit into the space, I'm adding the numbers in the top left corner of each of the boxes, and they're very small, so I feel like this isn't eating into my planning space too much. I think it's just right. I've just realised I never told you where the pale blue washi tape with the text on it at the top was from. That's also from Paper Monogatari, and I thought adding a little bust to the top corner of this one would balance out the decoration from the left side a bit, so it's kind of top corner, top corner. All we need now is to finish off these second line highlights on the task page, and we can move on to the next one. This one I'm getting very creative about. I'm going to layer down some washi tape. This is the wide Lily of the Valley from Leela Journals. I'm layering it right next to itself, and I'm trying to match up the pattern too so it really looks like a wallpaper. And then I'm going to use a craft knife to cut out the spaces in this washi tape where I want my planning to happen. I've penciled them out first, and I can see that through the washi tape, so it's pretty easy for me to just trace over that. I thought I'd be doing it with a ruler, but the ruler was actually really finicky, so I'm actually going to freehand it after this one. This is one of those washi tape tricks that I think only works on fairly thick paper. You want to have 120 to 160 GSM, I would say, to avoid the risk of your craft knife cutting through your page as well as your washi tape. But on paper like this, you don't actually even really have to be that careful, and it seems to go okay. I would not try this on Hobonichi paper, for instance, because I feel like that's a recipe for disaster. This time I'm doing 4 rows and only 2 columns, so ultimately skipping the top left corner, I'll have 7 spaces for planning for a week, as you do. I'm using my handy dandy sticker spatula scraper thing to really make sure this is stuck down well before I jump in with my eraser, because I do have some pencil marks here that I want to get rid of, and I'm very happy to report it didn't lift up at all. It was great. But I'm very glad I'm using functional stickers for my days of the week here, because I don't have a huge amount of room for writing headings in these boxes either, so they are really coming in handy this time around. And once again, just like on our previous weekly, as far as the number stickers, I'm going to tuck them into that top left corner of each of the planning spaces, so they're not taking up too much room, but they're still really nice and easy to read. These ones are on a very thin washi tape, so I think if I layered this over the existing washi tape, the patterned one on the page, they wouldn't really be very readable, so I think this is the best solution. I feel like there's already so much going on that left page that I don't want to add too much more to it. I will add a couple of little extra bits in that space next to the Monday, but for the right page, this is where I'm really going to make sure that our colours are introduced. I've leaned more into the blue in the ephemera here, so I'm going to reintroduce the beige tones in the marker for the second line highlight, and that's all we need for this one. And this will be our very last weekly and also our very last spread for this video. I'm going back to the horizontal design, but I want to try it a different way. So I'm using this thin Henriette Arts washi tape as a page divider, and I'm going to split this left page into the 7 days, but I haven't spaced it very well, so I'm going to kind of get some of it down and then I'll start counting better and we'll fix it. It's amazing how much some strips of a solid colored washi tape can add a lot of things going on, a lot of visual weight and interest to a page. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple. On the right side, again, just some strips of washi tape layered right next to each other. And I'm going to alternate which side I add my functional Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday stickers on. I'm just attaching them to the very bottom of that strip of washi tape. So they're partly kissing the planning space, but they're also not really taking up any of that room. I did kind of forget to factor in the number stickers when I was placing those though, so we're also going to alternate the side of those. They'll go on the left of the left-oriented lettering, and they'll go on the right of the right-oriented lettering. So it'll say 24 Tuesday instead of Tuesday 24. I'm okay with that. As long as I understand it and I can use it, it's fine. I don't feel that this spread needs a great deal more because we have enough going on already, so that means we're finished setting up for March in my traveler's size everyday journal. Let's take a full flip through from start to finish. I think this is so cute. It's kind of cozy even though it has some cool tones going on, and it's really seasonally appropriate for me here in Australia because March is when we start to descend into autumn. Although it's still quite warm, we finally get some slightly cooler days, and I can't wait for that. And autumn seems like the academia season to me. I don't know, let me know if you agree. And while you're at it, don't forget to let me know what your favorite style of journal theme is, whether it's vintage or floral or celestial or something else. I really don't think I have a favorite, but I did have a great time setting this one up. If it's not quite your style though, that's okay, because I have many March setups before this one on my channel. Here's my most recent in the mystery journal. It's very romantasy inspired. And right under that is my March theme from last year, which was vintage celestial themed. So whichever feels more like you, I hope you enjoy.